My father had a farm 60 kilometers. I was born in Cameroon. And he had a farm 60 kilometers from the capital city. So he was a civil servant. So he would work in the capital city from Monday to usually Friday. And on Friday afternoon, he would go to his farm, which was 60 kilometers from the capital city. And I spent a lot of time with him on the farm. I used to go there for the big holidays, the summer holidays, if summer means anything under the tropics. So I spent a lot of time there, and I would just like to share with you what I saw as a young person growing up in that community, which makes me believe that we do have in our heritage and our archives enough to teach us about how to listen to the planet. Maybe not exactly in the same way Patricia shared it with us, but in ways not so dissimilar. I'm now convinced. So, the first thing I saw in that community was that, contrary to one of the cornerstones of Western philosophical thought, elderly people in this community did not believe that the human was exceptional or unique. They just didn't believe in that. And as I have just said, this is a key dimension of Western philosophical thought. Western philosophy believes that we, the humans, are at the top, at the apex of the hierarchy of creation. And the rest of the creation is at our service. And we can dispose of it exactly in the way we want. In this community where I grew up, there's no such belief. Rather, people were convinced that the human was singular and original. They were convinced that each living being came into being through its relations with its environment and its relations with the creatures with whom it shared that environment, which is exactly what Patricia was telling us very vividly a moment ago. In other words, they thought that being with others preceded being in and of itself. So if you want me to put it in big language, they believe that relations preceded ontology. And here again, Western philosophical thought is based on ontology. They privilege ontology over relations. What I saw in this community was the reverse. They privileged relations with ourselves, with the ancestors, with so-called nature, with plants, animals. These relations were the basis on which, the foundations on the basis of which everything else was, if you want, deductible. Rights, obligations, responsibilities, duties, all were attached to the quality of the relations one had with the cosmos, the cosmos comprising, of course, everything else. Another thing I learned as a young person living in that community was the extent to which the community placed the emphasis it placed on the diverse ways of becoming a human person. I insist on this idea of becoming a human person because they did believe that to be human was not at all like we tend to believe today. It was not a matter of so-called identity. It was not at all a matter of identity. It was a matter of becoming, a matter of strenuous and constant labor. That we become human, it's work. You have to do work to become a human person. You are not just a human person because you are born in a family, you have a father, mother, all of that. No, there is constant labor that has to be done for you to become a human person. And, of course, they also believed that there were gradations of personhood, and various skills and capabilities were required to sustain what was called full personhood. So full personhood was the equivalent, of course, of achieving a high quality of humaneness, which predisposed then one to become an ancestor once one passed away. So there were a number of key philosophical beliefs like that, which were not at all theoretical, which were embodied, which were situated, which people were striving to experience on a daily basis, learning, of course, to relate to vital forces, flows of energy they believed were present and were active in one's community and one's environment. The other thing which was striking for me as a young person living in this community was the extent to which there was this belief that there were different forms of reality. There was, we should call it surface reality, which was apparent. You see something, but in fact, behind every form of appearance, there was always a deeper level of the reality. There was the real which appeared at the surface of things. It could be seen, it could be sensed by ordinary people, but underneath the surface, there was a deeper level of the real. And this deeper level of the real could manifest itself, of course, in many different ways. Yet such manifestations could only be properly deciphered or interpreted by those who had undergone a process of initiation, which then allowed them to become specialists of science. That there were things, in order to see them, to sense them, we need to undergo a deep process of learning. And unless we undergo this process of learning, we cannot see them. We have to teach our vision. We have to teach our sense of hearing. We have to mobilize all the human senses, how to touch, how to feel, how to smell, in order to communicate with the complexity of the living and all the other living beings and things with which we share the earth. This was absolutely key in the ways in which people indeed lived their life. I mention all of this because what has happened during, I would say, the last 2 to 3 centuries of our entry into the so-called modern world, what has happened since colonialism and everything else that has come with it, is that we have been taught to somewhat dismiss this deep history of our entanglement with multiple other species. What we have learned at school, what we have learned via the so-called modern institutions, has been about how to separate ourselves from all of that. How to mark our own difference with everything that is with us, as a step certainly to classify, to hierarchize, and to exploit.